I think probably most of you know I live in Sunstone, right? This is my neighborhood. We've been here for 15 years. It'll be 15 years in 2 weeks. So my husband Dan is here with me tonight, and so it's a treat for me to be here amongst my closest friends and neighbors. And truly, some of my favorite people are sitting behind us. It is a treat to be here. We were discussing, I was talking to a couple of the candidates up there before we made our way down here. And they said, wow, okay, when we talked to you as this first started, because I find myself in a position where candidates running for different office have made appointments to come in and visit with me. And I've met with most of the candidates in the county and several at the federal level. And they said when we started this, we kind of thought we knew what we were getting into. And now that we're this far into it, it is not something you can imagine unless you've ever done it. And we just all smiled knowingly at each other like, yeah, go, we get it. This is no small task. Putting yourself out there and offering to do what's in the best interest of the public. Offering to do what's right, not what's always popular. Offering to do what's right, not what's always easy. It's no small task. It takes a great deal of courage to step up and say, I know I can make a difference for the people in my area. I want to represent them the way they want to be represented, and I'm offering to do it. That's exactly what the people behind us have done, and I am truly grateful for each one of them and their willingness to step up and put their hat in the ring. We are so blessed to live in this free land. I appreciate the chance that we have freedom of the press. I'm so grateful that each one of us has the chance to express, and I say this at every city council meeting, we won't all agree, but what a blessing it is to have the chance to express ourselves, that we have freedom of speech, that we have a government run by the people, by the voice of the people. And I admonish the scouts every council meeting who come to be engaged in what takes place for the rest of their lives, even if that just means learning about the candidates and taking the opportunity to vote, because so many, many people have sacrificed more than I can personally comprehend to ensure that I have that right and that each of you have that right. Thank you for being here to learn more about the candidates. Thank you for those who have worked hard to put this event together. I appreciate the time that they are each spending coming to join with us tonight, because this is something that I assure you they do every night, sometimes 2 a night, sometimes 3 a night. They're spending all of their time trying to get to know the people that they're offering to represent. I know they want to hear from you. And I hope that you recognize that as elected officials take office and make decisions, they always have more information than the public has about the decisions that they make. And we'd just like to hope that you would recognize that even if we don't all agree, it doesn't mean that we're not being represented. There's always going to be people for and against one thing or another, right? That's just the way it is. But it doesn't mean that if things don't go the way I want them to go, that I'm not being represented by whoever made a decision that was the other way around. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you to the organizers who have volunteered so much time and many of their resources, and thank you to the sponsors of this event. And once again, thank you to each of these candidates for joining us. I hope you'll take the opportunity to get to know them, because I'm confident you'll be very impressed. And I just think our future is in good hands. The future is bright, and we have every hope that things are going to continue moving in a good direction for our area of the valley and the state and the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everyone who has made tonight possible. There are a lot of volunteers who have done a lot of work. Thank you. And I express a special appreciation to each of you for coming, taking the time out to come. This is important. And just wanted to make a couple of brief comments, and then we'll introduce the candidates. Like the laws of physics that allow us to fly, there are certain laws of freedom that allow such a condition as freedom to exist. And we are, as it were, on a freedom flight with our jumbo jet of state called the United States of America. It's critical then that we and those we elect understand something about the laws of economic flight. Otherwise, with good intentions, it's easy to gum up the economic engines with over-regulation and undermine a culture that supports freedom. If we don't know, we may even be open to chopping off little bits of these funny things sticking outside the airplane, not knowing that these wings are the very thing that give us lift. We appreciate the American founders, not for their faults, but because their efforts are still blessing us with freedom today. They engineered and established this Freedoms Course, as it were, with our founding documents, that despite significant challenges and setbacks along the way, has lifted more people, taken on passengers, and lifted more people to freedom. Tonight, we hope to learn from candidates and each other about these principles and specific issues facing the levels of government in this upcoming election. We're delighted to have the candidates here. As has been stated, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of resources to run for office, and this is a citizen government. And so I invite you to join me in hearing and vetting those that wish to be the freedom flight pilots, as it were, and decide if the destination and the proposals they offer is what is needed. And again, thank you to each of the candidates. So we will first hear from Congresswoman Mia Love. After she addresses us, Roseanne Mitchell, who is running for Salt Lake County Clerk, will speak. Sophia DeCaro, running for Salt Lake County Council at Large. Then Nathan Evershed, who is running for Salt Lake County District Attorney. Justin Hoyle, who is running for Salt Lake County Sheriff. And then our representative for this area, Kim Coleman, is not able to join us tonight. She sends her regrets. She has some family items. We love Kim and are grateful for her service, though. Many of you know her, but she's just not able to be with us tonight. Ken Ivory, also in the House of Representatives, representing areas of West Jordan, is here, and he has some special words for us to help us understand some significant issues going on. And then we will then hear from United States Senate candidate Mitt Romney. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here this evening. Really, I needed this today, I have to tell you. Campaign season is kicking in, and all of the claws are coming out, and you're already going to start seeing some of the silliness that's out there. Usually, I'll just first of all say thank you to those who have put this together. There's so many people that are here, all the people that are behind me here. Thank you so much for standing up and being willing to get into the fight, and thank you so much, because it's not just about putting your name on a ballot. It's also about getting out and being part of this process and not leaving it for somebody else to make all the decisions for you. Usually when I tell my kids that I have good news and I've got bad news, I say, which one do you want to hear first? And it's always what? Bad news. Tell me the bad news first. So that's what we're going to do. Here's the bad news. The bad news is that we are seeing things in Washington that I never thought in my lifetime that we would ever see. We are seeing people move so far to the left that they're literally advocating for socialism and communism. We have seen people forget who we are as Americans and advocate for the death of our unborn children. We are seeing people who think that Washington know better. So they think that your taxpayer dollars are better spent in the hands of Washington bureaucrats than they are in your own hands for your own family. We are seeing incivility. We're seeing anger. I've actually heard this over and over again. I'm being this angry because somebody's making me do it. And I know you probably feel this way too. It's one of the things that we get after our children about. You're responsible for what you do. No one can make you do anything. What will history write about you? So here's the good news. The good news is you've got some adversaries out there who think that we've given up, who thinks that you wouldn't show up on a night like this, that this country is so far gone that you've just put your hands up and you decided that you were going to leave everything in the hands of people like Nancy Pelosi, that you cannot make decisions for yourself and you've decided that that's perfectly fine, so you're going to leave it in the hands of people who are not elected by you and are not accountable to you. That's good news, because they do not believe that you would be here tonight. They don't believe that you're going to actually get out and you're going to vote. They think that there's this wave that's coming that's going to surpass everything that you believe in everything that we have fought for in this country, everything that we have stood up for. And I want to remind you that this job and what we do here, all of us, is not for the faint of heart. You know, you can always be a good representative, a good mayor, a good state legislator, a good district attorney when everything's going well. But you know what people are made of when, for lack of a better term, when the crap hits the fan. It's those who are willing to roll up their sleeves to take on the biggest, the heaviest fight. And I can't tell you, every time I go to Washington and I get on that floor, I'm encouraged because of you. I'm encouraged because you've given me the honor of representing you and protecting your freedoms. I will do everything I can to make sure I live up to the things that you sent me to Washington for. Thank you, and God bless every single one of you, and God bless this great country, the United States of America.
Good evening. I'm not Roseanne Mitchell running for clerk. Sorry, Roseanne. I'm just going to sneak in here. My name is Scott Tingley, and I have had the honor over the last 4 years to serve you as your Salt Lake County Auditor. When I ran for auditor 4 years ago, I ran under the campaign slogan that it's time we elected an auditor for county auditor. And that would usually get a few chuckles or sideways looks at me, but then they'd ask me, Scott, what do you mean? Well, we've had attorneys, we've had accounting and finance professionals and business people serve as county auditor, but no one with that specialized audit background serve you, the citizens of Salt Lake County, as your Salt Lake County Auditor. And that's what I brought to the office. If you've followed the history of the auditor's office over the last few decades, you probably know that it's had a bit of a sordid past. And I'm grateful to you for you electing me to be your county auditor to bring integrity and leadership back to the auditor's office. I have over 11 years of government auditing experience. I'm a certified internal auditor and a certified government auditing professional. And so that background enables me to bring that focus of the auditor's office back to serve you properly, the citizens of Salt Lake County. Now, you elected me 4 years ago based on my experience, but I'm hoping that you'll re-elect me based on some of the great things that we've been able to accomplish over the last 4 years. We've initiated an e-notices program. So if you're familiar with the tax notice that you get in July, we launched the e-notices program. You can actually go to our website and subscribe to have those notices sent to you electronically. Hopefully that saves you a little bit of hassle with the paper notices. And also we're saving taxpayers thousands of dollars annually in those printing and postage costs. This year, just to date, we've saved over $11,000 in postage costs, and that's your taxpayer money that we're saving. Also, with my background, I've been able to refocus the auditor's duties and promote different types of audits. So now we do performance audits, IT audits, capital project audits. And what that means is that there's better accountability and oversight for your tax dollars. So my name is Scott Tingley, running for re-election as your county auditor. Like I said, it's been an honor to serve you, and I hope that you'll remember me this November. Thank you.
I'm Roseanne Mitchell, and I've decided to take on the task of running for Salt Lake County Clerk because I think it's time for a change. I felt like my 13 years of experience in the clerk's office has made me acutely aware of the things that we do well, but also aware of the alarming deficiencies that loom in the office. You as voters deserve more, and you deserve better, and we can do that. Right now, we have 29 counties in the state of Utah, and 21 of those counties have moved to a new voting system, and Salt Lake County is not one of them. We shouldn't be perceived as coasting along and think that that's okay. We're the largest county, and we should be leading the way. We need to use technology to better inform our voters. I think that we can get the word out to voters using technology to let you know when to expect your ballot in the mail, so that you're aware that it's coming and be ready to look for it and start looking at the candidates that you're going to be voting on. Once you vote that ballot and you send it back to the clerk's office, it'd be nice to know that your ballot was received in the clerk's office. We could send you a text message or an email and let you know that it's arrived and that it's ready to be counted. It's information that we can and we should be giving to all of the voters of Salt Lake County. It's not new, it's technology that exists elsewhere, but I want to bring it to Salt Lake County. The more we put off making changes and improvements, the more voters we stand the risk of losing, and we can't afford to lose voters in Salt Lake County. I want to make sure that I not only make it easier for voters, but I want to make it matter, and that's important to me. I hope you'll remember me, and when you cast your ballot, Roseanne Mitchell for Salt Lake County Clerk.
Hi, I'm Sophia DiCaro, and I'm running for the Salt Lake County Council at Large seat. I have 7 years of experience in the state's budget office. I oversaw the state economic development agencies at the state level, about 200 million across 5 state agencies, before going to the economic development office and spent 6 years there. Before transitioning to the state legislature, I ran for the state House of Representatives and represented Northern West Valley City and was honored to do that. I enjoyed the experience. It was a privilege to serve. This time around, I saw an opportunity to run for the Salt Lake County Council. 1 out of every 3 people who live in the state of Utah live in Salt Lake County. So whatever we do in Salt Lake County really makes an impact for the state. And I want to be part of that, and I hope to earn all of your support in making that happen as well. Thank you for your time tonight, and again, I'm honored to share this evening with you and the great candidates behind. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I am Nathan Evershed. I'm running for Salt Lake County District Attorney. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm running. So I'm from here. I'm from Salt Lake County. I went to West High School and later went to law school. And in law school, I decided to become a prosecutor. So I decided to apply for the Salt Lake County District Attorney's position. I've been here for the last 10 years. So yes, I am running against my boss, and yes, it is awkward. But the reason why I'm doing that is because I love this office. It's a very important public office aimed to serve you. And I can tell you, after having been there for the last 10 years, that it is broken. And I'll give you one piece of evidence to show you that. In the last 2 years, in your public office, there has been a turnover rate of 25%. To compare that to other county attorneys' offices, I spoke to a friend up in Davis County. It's been about 6%. We are 4 times the rate. And there's a reason why that's happening, okay? You would imagine that in a government position like that, where it's just so inherently fun and good and productive to be out there and to be a prosecutor, to bring justice to people, that you would be able to retain them. But there's a problem of leadership that's going on. The way that it's managed, the way that it's micromanaged, the way that it's controlled, and the way that people don't have hope. We are now losing some of our best and brightest. In fact, just today I got a text that the prosecutor over our training program is now leaving. We lost someone 2 weeks ago to the Attorney General's office to take a pay cut. Last month, we lost somebody that was our Attorney of the Year last year to go up to Weber County. We are just losing and losing these valuable public servants, and I'm running to change that. I'm running to fix an office. I'm running because our relationship now with law enforcement is not very good. They don't trust us like they used to. And that's why every single law enforcement association in Salt Lake County is endorsing me for Salt Lake County District Attorney. They know my opponent. They've dealt with him for the last 8 years, and they think it's time for a change. And the last thing I'll say is this. It is time that you have someone with experience as your next district attorney. I have gone to trial, okay? I've gone to trial on many, for example, violent felony cases. I've gone to trial on 26 of them these last 10 years. Your current district attorney has gone to trial on 0 of those kinds of cases. Okay, the experience level or the lack of experience has hurt us. So it's time to change. It's time to bring experience back in, a collaborator back in, someone that the police trust, and someone that's going to fix this office to stop this brain drain. And that's why I'm running. You can find out more about me online. We're also on Facebook as well. I'm Nathan Evershed. I'm running for Salt Lake County District Attorney. Thanks for coming out here tonight, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, I'm Justin Hoyle, and I am running for Salt Lake County Sheriff this year. I've had the distinct pleasure of working in law enforcement for the last 22 years, from being a patrol deputy to being on our motorcycle squad. I was a member of our SWAT team. I was then a homicide and cold case homicide detective. I was a sergeant that supervised our family crimes unit, our violent crimes unit. I founded our child abduction response team. I then became a lieutenant and was our public information officer, and then served as our chief deputy over our Protective Services Bureau, and now oversee our dispatch center, who are those who are answering your 911 calls and the first line to getting you help when you need it. I've been asked, why am I running for this position? And it's simple. 21 years ago, when I sat across the table from then Sheriff Kennard, he asked me, Justin, why do you want to be a police officer? And that answer hasn't changed for the reason why I want to run today. And I thought about it for a minute back then, and it's still the same. I want to make a difference. As I've gone throughout my career for the last 21 years, unfortunately, I haven't had anybody call 911 yet to say they're having a good day. That just hasn't happened. But what that tells me is that every single time that we go to work and every single call that we go on as police officers, we have the ability to make a difference. We have the ability to make somebody's day better. Whether it's something as simple as a car window maybe getting broken out or somebody that's lost a loved one. The way officers treat and interact with people can make that day better for the public that we serve. And that's what I want to do, is make this community safer for all of you and for everybody else in Salt Lake County. There are those that would say that we need to be tough on crime, and there are those that would say that we need to be soft on crime. But I say that we need to be smart on crime. There is a need for more jail beds in this county, and that's what I'm focused on getting. This county is growing at an alarming rate, yet we also need to look at the programs that are in there. We need to reevaluate where we're spending our taxpayer dollars and help those that can't help themselves, those that are struggling with addiction, or those that are struggling with mental health issues, and that are constantly going through that revolving door at the Salt Lake County Jail. That's what I'm committed to do, is to help those people. This county is very large. We have several law enforcement jurisdictions. We have to work together as partners so that we are holding those accountable that are committing crimes and wreaking havoc in our communities. We need a strong leader, somebody that will stand up and fight for our citizens. That's what I'm committed to do. I ask for your support, your vote, and your trust this November. Thank you.
I'm extremely honored and proud to be here with my colleagues back here. This is not an easy thing to do, you know. I mean, we all have our lives. We're all busy. There's all things going on, but it matters. It really matters. I want to tell you just a little bit about Kim Coleman. It's so fun having her in the house. Has any of you seen her videos? Have you caught any of Kim's videos or Facebook videos, right? I mean, she is the epitome of the happy warrior. She is fighting nonstop to make government more efficient, nonstop to keep your taxes low. We seem to think that you can do more with your money than the government can, and so we want to keep it that way. And please support Kim, those of you that she represents. She's amazing. I'm pleased and honored for her to be a colleague. Now, Kip has asked me to speak just a little bit about a pretty major problem that we've got in our state, and also a major opportunity. How many of you are here engaged because you're concerned about your children or your grandchildren? Right? I mean, we got some children and grandchildren here in the audience. It's great to see that. You know, we teach our children that a promise is a promise, right? Promise is a promise. We need to keep our promises, right? Well, in 1976, now that's not too long ago, some of you might remember that. 1976, the federal government made a promise to the state of Utah. Now, they had already broken one promise. They said, at statehood, we're going to treat you just like everybody else. And treating you like everybody else, we're going to let you govern your own lands, and you can determine your own destiny, and you can manage your own forests so they're not managed for maximum combustion, and you can't see the mountains for the entire summer. But they broke that promise. In 1976, they said, we're going to keep all your land. Now, everyone east of the Rockies has the exact same promise, and the federal government kept it. For the states west of the Rockies, they said, we're not going to keep that promise, but we have a substitute promise for you. And the substitute promise is we're going to give you a payment in lieu of the taxes you would otherwise collect if we treated you equally. A payment in lieu of taxes. It's called PILT. And it's supposed to be just as good. Has anyone ever had a time off in lieu? You work a Saturday and then you take a Monday off, right? In lieu, by definition, means something just as good as. something different but of equal value. And so they said in 1976, we're going to keep your land, but we're going to give you a payment in lieu of something just as good as the taxes you would otherwise collect. Now, why this matters? We fund government with three ways. We have income tax, sales tax, and property tax. Education we fund almost predominantly from property tax. Now in Utah, anybody know approximately how much taxable land we have in Utah, percentage-wise? About 20%. About 20% of the land in Utah is taxable. The rest of it, no revenue. Now, the federal government made the promise, and they said, we're going to give you something just as good as the taxes we're withholding from you. We get, on the 20% of the land that is taxable, we get more taxable revenue in just 2 months on the 20% of the land that's taxable to fund schools and police and roads and fire than we've gotten from the federal government on 70% of our land in over 20 years. Now, you know, I went to public school, I took regular math, but they said they were going to give us a promise that's just as good as, right? Just as equal. We get more in 2 months on 20% than we receive from the federal government on 70% of our land in 20 years. So I want to show you a little example right here. This is my big stick. Now, if Mia Love took off a little early, I've got a solution for the bad days. You speak softly, carry a big stick, right? So this right here, this represents Garfield County, Utah. Okay, Garfield County down where Bryce Canyon is, right? So Garfield County, this piece right here, this represents the land in Garfield County that's controlled by the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, that's not taxable. Now this right here, this represents the land in Garfield County that's controlled by the U.S. Forest Service, that's also not taxable. This is the land in Garfield County that represents the National Park Service, also not taxable. Now this part right here is the state land in Garfield County that's also not taxable. And this little piece of the short end of the stick over here is the taxable land to fund education and fire and roads and health and human services in Garfield County. The children in Garfield County and throughout the state of Utah quite literally get the short end of the stick. Now I got to tell you about something that we're doing in Utah to work on this. This year, after 8 years of teaching on this, 8 years of working on this, Kip has been a warrior to help and educate on this as well. We had every Republican and every Democrat in the Utah House of Representatives co-sponsor a bill to determine what that taxable amount is so that we can get our federal partner and our good soon-to-be U.S. Senator and our other delegation in Washington to help us be treated equally so that our children don't get the short end of the stick. It was House Bill 357, and we're calculating the value of the taxable amount of our land so that our federal government can keep the promise that it made to us in 1976. Right now we get $35 million on 35 million acres. We get $3 billion a year on the 20%. I mean, just imagine what that does for mental health. Imagine what that does for education, for the STEM programs, the things that we need, that we talk about. We're not going to solve this problem until we solve the ability to govern ourselves, to determine our own destiny. The same thing the states east of the Rockies battled for and won. This is a battle we have to fight. There's just no other way that we get there from here. We have to go through this. And so I ask for your support. You can follow me and support our campaign at voteivory.com. And I ask you to reach out to your representatives at every level, local, state, national, and tell them this is something we need to fight passionately and diligently for. Our children deserve to be treated equally. They deserve not to have the short end of the stick into the future. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you so very much for what you're doing.
And I won't keep you too long, but I wanted to say hi to you and appreciate the chance to talk to you about why I'm a conservative. I know that Ronald Reagan, some of you are old enough to remember him, he always had a comment about liberals. He said, you know, it's not that liberals are ignorant, it's just that what they know is wrong. And that was an inspiration for me. But, you know, I've got to know some people on both sides of the aisle, and I respect different points of view. But frankly, as I've considered my political leanings over the years, I'm a conservative. And the reason for that goes back to the words of the Declaration of Independence in our Constitution, where it says the purpose of our country is to preserve the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of all the people of America, without regard to race or ethnicity or gender or sexual orientation. We have a government that has as its purpose caring for our life, our liberty, and the pursuit of our happiness. Conservatives want to protect the life of the unborn. We also want to make sure that we have a strong enough military, so strong that no one in the world would ever think of challenging us. We want to be able to protect the lives of the people of the United States of America. And conservatives will fight for a strong and vibrant military to do just that. Liberty. Liberty is outlined in the Constitution and through the amendments. And the members of the conservative philosophy believe very strongly that we should have the right under the First Amendment to practice religion as we choose, to have freedom of the press. We also believe in the right to bear arms, the right to have association with one another, the right to protect ourselves and our privacy in our homes and so forth. And so we, as conservatives, believe very fundamentally in the principles of the Constitution and fight for those liberties and assure with every ounce of our strength that we preserve them. Then the third area, the pursuit of happiness. Now, what does that mean precisely for us? Perhaps open for interpretation, but pursuing happiness, I believe, includes being in a place that's prosperous, where we have the capacity to have good work, good education, opportunity for all of our citizens. In a nation that aspires to be a place of equal opportunity for all, we want folks to have the opportunity to have those good jobs and have a bright and prosperous future. And I'm absolutely convinced that conservative principles are the only principles that will help grow our economy and provide a more prosperous future for our citizens. Now, I know more recently our friends across the aisle say, gosh, you Republicans cut taxes on corporations. That's just not right. I hope you understand why Republicans want to have corporate tax rates the same or a little lower than those of other countries around the world. And that's because we don't want to have companies leave here and go there. We want companies to stay here. We want entrepreneurs to stay here and build businesses here. Why? Not because business people need the money. They can go wherever they want. They'll make money wherever they go. We want the jobs they create to be here. Because if businesses are growing and starting here and competing to hire you and me, then they have to pay more money to get us to join them. And the only way I know to get real wages up for the American people is for us to grow enterprises, businesses of all kinds. So I believe in conservative principles. Now, one that we seem to have strayed from recently in Washington that concerns me, even as conservatives, is the principle that you don't spend massively more than you take in every year. Utah figured that out a long time ago. Governor Herbert balances the budget every year, and you built a rainy day fund, a great substance in this state legislature. So congratulations to those that are doing that. But you know what? Our federal government's doing the opposite. We're spending almost $1 trillion a year more than we're taking in. Last year, the federal government spent almost $4 trillion. By the way, a trillion is 1,000 billions. All right? They spent about $4 trillion, and they took in $3 trillion. So where'd the extra $1 trillion come from? They borrowed it from China, from other countries, from corporations. They borrowed the money. And you know you're not going to pay that money back. I'm not going to pay it back. But you know what? Every year we pay the interest on it. Because when the people loaned our government that $1 trillion, they expect to get paid interest. And last year the interest was about $300 billion. And it's projected to go up to about $700 billion, almost as much as we spend on our military. I believe in conservative principles, and I'm a deficit hawk. And one thing you can count on, if and when you get me elected to go to Washington, is I am not going to vote to keep spending massively more money than we take in. I'm going to say no to these continuing resolutions that add more and more to the deficit. I'm going to fight to get us on track to have a balanced budget. I hope you'll vote, give me your support, and also the people on this great team. Thanks so much. Good to be with you this evening.
This has been a treat, and really want to extend our appreciation to those who are running for office to spend the time with us this evening. And I hope that you will all share with me your appreciation again for them. And Kip runs a tight ship. We're going to get out on time. So we invite everybody that might have an interest to come and ask some additional questions of the candidates before they might have to depart. Their time is limited. And, I just have to say, what a refreshing night this has been. We could have stayed at home and watched Fox or CNN or some show. I don't know about you, but hearing people talk without the yelling, hearing people talking from the heart about issues that are important to us makes all the difference in the world. It gives me hope, and I appreciate the efforts that have been made. So thank you for coming tonight, and we'll go ahead and adjourn.